Today I'll be ranking which animals a human could defeat in a fight. So we've got different tiers of human, and I'll be ranking each animal based on what it would take for a human or group of humans to be able to defeat them. In the highest tier, we have a team of men with Stone Age weapons. So, a team of men with Stone Age weapons would essentially be able to take down any animal. And we know that from the archaeological record. Native Americans in North America hunted grizzly bears with essentially Stone Age technology. The Inuits in the Arctic hunt walruses and whales with bone harpoons. People in Africa have been hunting elephants for thousands of years. The ancient Egyptians hunted hippopotamus with copper tipped spears. So, a well organized group of humans with Stone Age technology is capable of taking down pretty much any animal. Below that, we have a human with Stone Age weapons, as in a lone human. So, can one human with a spear or a bow and arrow take down one of these animals? Below that, we have a world champion MMA fighter. So basically, the strongest and most skilled at fighting of the entire human species alive today. Below that, we have a professional fighter, so like a decently skilled MMA fighter. Below that, we have the average man, so just an ordinary, uh, you know, an ordinary man in a Western country who doesn't work out much, doesn't go to the gym, and below that, we have me. I'm a little weaker. I'll admit I'm a little weaker than the average man. Below that, we have an average woman. So a woman who doesn't work out, doesn't lift weights, probably in her mid 30s, has an ordinary job. And then below that, we have basically Ash Ketchum. So an average 10-year-old boy. Uh, except this 10-year-old boy doesn't have plot armor. He's not an anime protagonist. And he's not going out and catching Pokemon. He's defending himself from wild beasts. Uh, Now, the first animal on the list is either a llama or an alpaca. I'm just going to assume it's a llama. I'm not really sure what the distinction is. I think I think uh, I'm not sure if I could defeat a llama like with my bare hands, unarmed. But I think an average man probably could defeat a llama. They're pretty big. I think they're like 6 feet tall. So I'm gonna put the llama in the average man category. I think an average man could, with great difficulty, take down a llama. The next is some kind of snake. I don't know if this is like a venomous snake or not, but either way, I think this is going to be controversial. I think a 10-year-old boy could defeat a snake. With is the same way that hominins have been defeating snakes for thousands or hundreds of thousands of years, which is basically just throwing rocks at it. If you stand at a distance, unless it's like a spitting cobra, you can use ranged attacks against a snake, and you'll probably win. It's a reptile, so it doesn't have that much stamina. Uh, I think that a young lad could defeat almost any snake if given enough time at a distance. All right, next we have a fruit bat. Fruit bats are not that big. They're big as far as bats go, but they don't have uh, they don't have a lot of attacks that could sufficiently damage a human. I think the average 10-year-old could defeat a fruit bat. Next we have a beaver. Beavers can get pretty big, but I think that most people would run away if they were attacked by a beaver. But if it was a life or death struggle, I think I don't know. I think the average 10-year-old would find a way to take down a beaver. Actually, no. I'm going to put this in the woman category. I'm not sure if a 10-year-old could take down a beaver. I think an average woman probably could eventually. I think the average human probably has more stamina than a beaver. And yeah, and a beaver's attacks don't do a lot of damage. It probably has a strong bite, but it has those like rodent teeth. Uh, Next, we have some kind of large grazing animal. I think, yeah, I think a human would need a weapon to defeat, what is this, like a muskox or something? I'm not sure what this is. Um, I think, yeah, I think a single human with a powerful bow and arrow, if they hit the right spot, could take down this animal. But not even a world champion MMA fighter would be able to take on this animal with their bare hands. I think a human would need a weapon. Next, we have a black bear. Again, A human would need a weapon, a spear, a bow and arrow, or a poison tipped dart. I not even the strongest human would be able to fist fight a black bear. If it was a life or death struggle, and both the human and the bear were fighting for survival, uh, yeah, the bear would win. And black bears aren't that big, but they're bigger than the vast majority of people. I think the only people that outweigh a black bear are like morbidly obese people, who again wouldn't win against a black bear. Next, we've got a grizzly bear. I think it would take a team of people with weapons to take down a grizzly bear. I don't think a single human with a spear. I think it's possible for a single human with a spear or a bow and arrow to take down a grizzly bear or a Eurasian brown bear, but it would be it would be probably the chances of them actually winning are not that high. Uh, to have a guaranteed chance of winning against a grizzly bear, you'd need a large group of people. A camel, same thing, same as the grizzly bear. It would probably take multiple people with weapons to take down a camel. Camels are extremely large. I've seen a camel in real life. Uh, a lot of them are like bigger than horses, and they're also a lot more aggressive than horses. A house cat. This might be controversial, but I'm gonna say a 10-year-old boy could defeat a house cat. Again, if most people got attacked by a house cat, they would probably run away because getting bitten and scratched is painful. But I have house cats. They're like most of them are like less than 10 pounds. And I think if it was a life or death struggle, I think anyone over the age of 10 could defeat a house cat if they had to. Next is a rooster, same thing. In fact, a rooster is incredibly easy to. If you've ever seen like people in rural villages. Anyway, I'm not gonna demonetize. Get myself. Actually, I'm not monetized anyway. Whatever. All right, this is one of the most controversial ones. A chimpanzee. Now, the thing about chimpanzees, they are they are strong for their size, but their strength is very overhyped. Um, a chimpanzee I think is 1.3 times stronger than a human, or it has the yeah it's only about 30% stronger than an adult human, for its size, right? For its size, the thing is, an adult male chimpanzee usually weighs like 120 to 140 pounds, and a female chimpanzee weighs like 90 pounds. So even though they are stronger for their size than human beings, most adult humans are quite a bit larger than a chimpanzee. And all of the cases of chimp attacks against humans, the humans survived. Um, all of the stories of people being mauled by their pet chimps, usually these were very large male chimps, unusually large male chimps, and the people were taken by surprise, and they were not killed. They survived the attack, but they were disfigured from the chimps biting them. I think in I don't know. I'm not going to say that an average man could defeat a chimp, because an average man is would probably be unprepared for the ferocious attack from the chimp. But I think that a professional fighter, not an elite fighter, just a strong man who is prepared and is skilled at fighting, could defeat a 120-pound chimp. Again, like a 200-pound muscular man could probably defeat a 120-pound chimp if it was a life or death struggle. Um, that famous case of the lady who had her face ripped off by a chimpanzee, that was an elderly woman. It was a small elderly woman, who was attacked by a 200-pound male chimpanzee, right? So this woman was like probably, you know, just a little over 100 pounds. She was elderly, and this chimpanzee was 200 pounds. So that's this is these are very exceptional cases. Most human fatalities caused by chimpanzees are of infants, because in cases where chimpanzees in Africa will steal infants. But yeah, there are very few cases of a fully grown adult human actually being killed by a chimpanzee. So I'm going to say a professional fighter, a man who is decently skilled at fighting, could defeat a 120-pound chimp. I couldn't defeat a 120-pound chimp because I'm 120 pounds myself. So Yeah, given that chimps are 1.3 times stronger than humans for their size, I would probably lose against a chimp. But an MMA fighter, I'm pretty confident could beat a chimpanzee. Now we have a cobra. All right, I'm gonna say that an average woman. It depends. If it's a spitting cobra, I think a person would need a weapon, like a ranged weapon, not just throwing rocks. But if it's just an ordinary cobra, I think I'm gonna say an average woman could defeat a cobra from a distance. I think a 10-year-old might be, I don't know, they might not be very smart or tactful and get too close to the snake, which would end up in them being bitten. But I think an average man or woman or myself would be clever enough to get out of range of the snake and hit it with rocks. Next is a cow. All right, this would require a human with a weapon, a spear or a javelin or a bow and arrow. I don't think any human alive could defeat a cow in hand-to-hand combat. I mean, cows don't have hands, but you know what I mean. You can't defeat a cow without a weapon. The next is I think this is a coyote. I don't think it's a, is this a wolf or a coyote? Hold on. No, it's a coyote. Yeah, I think an average wolf. I'm not. I'm gonna say an average woman could defeat a coyote. I think it would be very tough. I think if a 10-year-old boy fought a coyote, I think that it would be a 50-50 chance of each of them winning. I think a fully grown adult woman would have a somewhat above 50% chance of defeating a coyote because coyotes they're smaller than wolves. They're even smaller than some large breeds of dog. Um, so yeah, I think a determined woman would be able to defeat a coyote in hand-to-hand combat, which is a funny statement to say, but all right. This looks like an elk or a large male deer. I'm not sure. I'm gonna say I think a professional fighter would figure out a way to take down a deer with their bare hands, but but yeah, I don't think an average man would be able to take down a large male deer with their bare hands. Next is a dog. I don't know what kind of dog this is. I'm not that familiar with different dog breeds. It looks like a what is this like a golden retriever or some kind of Labrador? So a medium to large sized dog. I think an average man could definitely defeat a dog. Not sure about an average woman. I think an average woman could defeat a medium sized dog. If it's medium, if it's like a 60-pound dog, I think they would be able to. I don't think that a like I don't think a 10-year-old could defeat a medium sized dog. But I think a woman who weighs, 135 pounds could probably defeat a dog that weighs 60 pounds, right? But not a dog that weighs 100 pounds. I think a dog that weighs 100 pounds could defeat a woman that weighs 135 pounds. Yeah, this is a tough one. I don't even know if I could defeat. I'm gonna say the average man. Like, assuming it's a large dog, a large domestic dog. I'm gonna say the average man could defeat a dog. I'm not sure I could even defeat a medium to large dog. So I'm gonna put it along with the llama, a dolphin. Um, all right. So if the fight takes place in the water, the dolphin wins. If the fight takes place on land, a 10-year-old boy would be able to defeat a dolphin because they're an aquatic animal. They don't have legs. Um, I'm gonna to be fair, yeah, we're gonna assume that they're all in like a standardized arena. In which case the dolphin would go in the bottom tier. Now dolphins are pretty strong, but we can't have humans getting in the water and trying to fight a dolphin in the water. Um, of course, with people with Stone Age technology, that would include boats and harpoons. So like canoes and harpoons, in which case they absolutely would be able to defeat a dolphin. But I don't. It doesn't feel right to put a dolphin in the same tier as the grizzly bear. I don't know. I'm gonna keep it here for now. I might change the ranking later. An eagle. Um, this is gonna be controversial. Eagles are very large, very powerful birds. but they are birds, which means they have hollow bones. They don't weigh that much, right? Because they look a lot bigger than they are. They're not that massive because they're birds. They have hollow bones, and a lot of their size is just feathers. Uh, they have strong talons and sharp beaks, but the thing is, uh, humans have hands. Humans are able to grab. If an eagle tries to grab a person, the person can grab the eagle back. I think the average person could easily break an eagle's leg or break its wings. Uh, Again, because birds, their bones are not that strong. Yeah, there are like plenty of videos on the internet of eagles taking down deer, right? A deer can be as large as an adult human. But the thing is, deer don't have hands. Deer have no way of attacking the eagle back. If the eagle starts clawing at the back or the neck of the deer doesn't have any way to defend itself. A human can easily just grab the bird back. As soon as a human grabs the eagle, it can't fly anymore. Like you just need to hit the eagle once and it's crippled. So I'm gonna this is gonna be controversial. I think a 10-year-old could defeat an eagle. All right, an eel. Like this looks like a moray eel. I think they're venomous. Again, if we put them on land outside of water, you would pretty much just have to like wait for the eel to suffocate. Same with a dolphin. I mean, dolphins breathe air, so they wouldn't suffocate, but yeah, I don't know. Okay, if we assume that these animals are all right, I'll change the ranking. I'll assume that we're in the natural habitat of the animal, which would move the dolphin up to a human with Stone Age weapons, so like a person with a canoe and a harpoon, and we'll move the eel up to probably the same. I think you would need like a spear in order to take down a moray eel. I don't think you could just grab it with your hands. I'm actually not sure. I haven't. I used to know this when I was a kid. I'm not sure if the moray eel is venomous or not. I'm just keeping it here for now. All right, the elephant. This goes in the very top tier. Uh, there are plenty of archaeological remains from dating back as far as like 1.5 million years of not even modern humans, but like Homo erectus, taking down like straight tusked elephants. So we know that even very, very primitive hominins with stone tools can take down elephants. Uh, However, it probably takes a lot of strategy. It takes a large number of people. Uh, it takes a lot of prior planning. I don't think a single human with a spear or a bow and arrow could take down an elephant. I think it takes an entire team of people, incredibly organized, in order to take down an elephant. Next, we have a falcon. Same deal as the eagle. It's a bird. So as soon as it grabs you, you can grab the bird back and pull it out of the sky, and then it's done. They're very small. They have hollow bones. You could, yeah, you could essentially cripple them with like one hit. Next, we have a ferret. I think a determined kid could, defeat a ferret. They're very small. You just have to grab them, and yeah. Same with the fish. This looks like just a tropical reef fish. All right, the flamingo. Uh, this is going to be controversial. I think a 10-year-old could defeat a flamingo. They don't have any powerful attacks. Their beaks are not that strong. They don't have talons. They're also pretty light. And they can also fly, which means they have hollow bones. I think that a 10-year-old could take down a flamingo. I've seen baboons like grapple with flamingos, and they basically just like grab the flamingo by the neck, and then it's done. The flamingo can't do anything. Next we have a fox. I think it would be difficult, but I think a 10-year-old could take down a fox if it was a life or death struggle. Foxes are not that big. They're like maybe a little bigger than cats. Okay, a frog. This is a tree frog. All right, so same deal. This is a gecko. I'm putting in the same category. Okay, this is either an alligator or a crocodile, some kind of crocodilian. I think that an average man would not be able to defeat a crocodilian, even on land, but I think a professional fighter might be able to tire it out or like drag it by the tail or something. It is a reptile, so it has very low stamina. It would tire out very quickly. I have seen people wrestle crocodiles. I have seen people legitimately just jump on the backs of crocodiles and like hold their jaws shut. So I think a professional fighter might be able to figure out a way to tire out a crocodile until it's or an alligator until it's not able to fight anymore. All right. A giraffe, top tier. It would take several guys with long range weapons or with spears to take down a giraffe. Next is a goat. Uh, this might be controversial. I think an average man would figure out a way. In a life or death struggle, an average man, I think, could figure out a way to take down a goat with their bare hands. Goats are not that big. Um, if you've ever seen a goat, they're about the size of a small human, and they don't have any ways of. I know goats can headbutt, but that doesn't do a lot of damage. If you grapple a goat and get it on the ground, there isn't much the goat can do. Actually, no, I'm gonna move. I think I could defeat a goat. I don't know if the average woman could defeat a goat. Not sure. I'm gonna put it. This is the first animal I'm gonna put in the meat category, as in it, I think I could defeat this animal. I'm not sure if anyone weaker than me would be able to defeat a goat, but I'm pretty sure I could. All right, a goose. Again, geese are very overhyped, and this might be controversial, but I think a 10-year-old could defeat a goose. Geese are not they're not strong. They don't have any attacks that could actually damage a human, and they have hollow bones. And they have those long exposed necks. You can just grab them. All right, this is a silverback gorilla. So this is a large adult male gorilla. Yeah, no one's defeating a gorilla. Even Mike Tyson is not defeating a gorilla. I don't think there's any human alive that can defeat a gorilla in hand-to-hand combat. But with a weapon, it's a completely different story. I think a human could defeat a gorilla with a spear or with a bow and arrow or a poison dart, but I don't think any human could defeat a gorilla in hand-to-hand combat. Not even a world's strongest man competitor. Not even a 400-pound muscular man on steroids. I think their bite force is too strong. They're too they're too muscular. Uh, Gorillas are absolutely not like chimpanzees. Gorillas are many, many times stronger than a human. Uh, Chimpanzees are comparable to people, but gorillas are a completely different level of physical strength. All right, this looks like some kind of small rodent. I don't know if this is a like a marmot or a groundhog or anyway. All right, this looks like a hawk. Same deal as the eagle and the falcon and the goose. A hedgehog, bottom tier. A hippopotamus goes straight to the top. People have hunted hippopotamus for thousands of years, but usually a single man isn't able to hunt a hippopotamus alone. It takes a team of people to take down a hippo. Next, we have the honey badger. Uh, I'm not gonna lie, honey badgers are not that big. They have a reputation for being very fierce, and I'm sure they are, but they're not that big. I'm gonna say an average man. This is gonna be controversial, right? But honey badgers they're not very big. If it was a life or death struggle, right? How would a honey badger be able to take down a fully grown adult man? I mean, they can do a lot of damage. Most people do not want to fight a honey badger. Most people would run away if a honey badger started attacking them. But if it was a life or death struggle, I think in the end a fully grown adult man would be able to take down a honey badger. I'm not sure if I would be able to, or an average woman, definitely not a 10-year-old, but I think an average man would fare well against a honey badger. Next is a horse. All right, a horse is a very large mammal. Um, I think it would require a weapon. I think a single human with a weapon could take down a horse. Uh, but I don't think a person could defeat a horse with their bare hands. Next, we have this. Just looks like a guy. This is okay. Um, an average guy would be defeated by a professional fighter. So an average man would obviously have a 50-50 chance of beating an average man. So one tier above that would be required to beat an average man, which is a man who is fairly skilled at fighting. Uh, is this an iguana? Yeah, bottom tier. Right, the next animal on our list looks like a jaguar. So a jaguar could defeat any human, even the strongest heavyweight MMA fighters, even the strongest heavyweight boxers. It would require a weapon to take down a jaguar. Actually, given how agile and elusive big cats are, it might actually take a team of people to take down a jaguar. Uh, yeah, I might have to put jaguar in. No, I think a single person with a weapon, with a spear, who's highly trained, could take down a jaguar in a one-on-one fight if the jaguar attacked him. But actually tracking down a jaguar is a completely different story. All right, the jellyfish goes in bottom tier. It doesn't matter how venomous it is. You can find a way to scoop it out of the water without touching the tentacles. Next animal is a kangaroo. I think an average man could defeat a kangaroo. In fact, I saw a video of an average man defeating a kangaroo. Not sure if I could defeat a kangaroo. Actually, if you can avoid the kicks, if you can grapple a kangaroo to the ground, I think, yeah, I think almost anyone could defeat a kangaroo if they're strong enough to grapple the I'm not gonna be so arrogant as to say I could defeat a kangaroo, but I think an average man could defeat a kangaroo. All right, a koala, bottom tier. I think most humans can defeat a koala. All right, a moose. I think a single human with a spear, if they caught the moose by surprise, would be able to take down a moose. But moose are pretty big and pretty dangerous. I'm going to put it in the top tier. I think it would take several people in a coordinated hunting strategy to take down a moose. This is a mouse. Obviously, it goes in the bottom tier. I think any human capable of walking is able to is able to defeat a mouse. All right. An octopus. I think most octopi, octopuses. I don't know. I don't know what the plural is. Most of them are not that big. If we're on dry land, a human would win every time. If we're in the water, it depends on how large the octopus is. If we're in like water that you can like wade around in, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say an average woman could probably pluck one of these out of the water. I don't know about a 10-year-old. Depends on if they know how to swim or not. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it here for now. All right, this is a monkey. It looks like a macaque. So macaques are not very big. They're very fierce. They do have sharp teeth. They have sharp canine teeth, but they don't have a strong bite force like a gorilla, and they're very small. They're much smaller than chimps. I think I think an average woman could defeat an adult woman could defeat a macaque. I don't know if a 10-year-old boy could. It depends on how big he is. If he's like 5'1", like 100 pounds, maybe. But if he's like, I don't know, like 75 pounds and like 4'10" or something, I think the monkey would might have a chance. So I'm gonna put the monkey. I'm gonna say the vast majority of average women could, in a life or death struggle, defeat a monkey, a macaque, medium-sized monkey. But as for a kid, I don't know. All right, the orca. This would take a coordinated hunting strategy from a group of people who are all armed. So probably people with boats and harpoons. All right, an orangutan. Um, I'm gonna have to put the orangutan in the same category as the chimp. I think an orangutan is strong and fast enough to be able to catch an average man by surprise, but I think a professional fighter uh would know how to combat an orangutan. Actually, I think orangutans might be a little bigger than chimps, but they're not known to be very aggressive. They're also not as muscular as chimps, so I'm going to put it in the same category as chimps. An owl, again, it's the same deal as all the other uh, flying birds. It goes in the bottom tier. A panda. Okay, so pandas, they are bears. They're one of the weaker bears, but they're still bears. They have a strong bite force. They have claws. They have sharp teeth. So I think a single human with a long spear who's trained in fighting with a spear could take down a panda. I don't think it would take multiple people and a coordinated hunting strategy, but I don't think a human could defeat a panda without a weapon. Uh, Not even the strongest human would be able to defeat a panda. A parrot, okay, bottom tier, same as the other birds. What is this? This is a panther? This looks like a panther. So it's basically a melanated leopard. Same as the jaguar, I guess. It's a big cat, so no human can defeat a big cat barehanded, but with a weapon, it's possible. A pigeon, okay, bottom tier. A pig, okay, so this is a domestic pig. I think that an average man could defeat a domestic pig, and I know pigs can grow to be very large, but again, I've seen some footage of people wrestling pigs. I think an average man could figure out a way to take down a pig with his bare hands. Actually, I might move it up to professional. Actually, yeah, domestic pigs. I don't think have a lot of strong attacks. Although wild boar, I think wild boar are on the list. I'm gonna probably move them significantly up. Actually, no. I'm gonna put domestic pig in. I think it would take a professional fighter to defeat a large domestic pig, because they can grow to be pretty large. All right, a platypus. Yeah, bottom tier. I know that they have venomous spines on their, I think their back legs, but I think in a life or death struggle, also the venom isn't lethal to humans, but it is painful. And they don't really have any other attacks that could harm a human besides that. So I think I'm going to put it in bottom tier. A penguin, I know penguins can grow to be pretty large, but still bottom tier. They don't have any attacks that could harm a human. You could just knock a penguin over. All right, a rabbit, okay, bottom tier. A rhinoceros, top tier. It would take several humans and a coordinated hunting strategy to take down a rhinoceros. People have hunted in during the Ice Age, 30,000 years ago. People hunted woolly rhinoceros in Eurasia. So it is definitely possible for people with Stone Age technology to take down a rhinoceros. But I don't think a lone man with a spear would fare well against a rhinoceros. A raccoon? Uh, Bottom tier. I think it would be very difficult for a 10-year-old to defeat a raccoon, but if it was a life or death struggle, given how small raccoons are, I don't, yeah, I don't think the raccoon would win. All right, polar bear, top tier. I think it would take several guys with bows and arrows. Now, the Inuit actually, there are records of the indigenous Arctic hunter-gatherers hunting polar bear, and they use these specialized bows that have a very high poundage. I think it would be possible for one man to shoot a polar bear from a distance with one of these bows, but to be safe, given how large and aggressive polar bears are, I'm gonna say a team of men with Stone Age weapons would be required to take down a polar bear. All right, what is this? Is this an elephant seal or a sea lion? All right, it's a sea lion. Um, I th- all right, on land, I think an average man could take down a sea lion. In the water, I'm not sure. No, in the water, a sea lion would definitely win. All right, I'm gonna put it in the average man category. Because part of their habitat is on land. Like they don't require water, like the dolphin or the moray eel, which you will only find in the water. Uh, yeah, but the seal, if yeah, the sea lion can come out of the water onto land, and if the sea lion is on land, then I think an average man would find a way to defeat a sea lion. All right, a sea turtle. Actually, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if a 10-year-old could defeat a sea turtle. their habitat is mostly in the water. They only come out onto land to lay their eggs. I guess if you caught them on a beach while they're laying their eggs, anyone could defeat a sea turtle. They're not very strong. But in the water, I'm not sure. They are reptiles, so they're not very fast, not very agile, and they tire easily. Right? I'm gonna say an average woman could defeat a sea turtle. Oh, in the water, and definitely on land. A 10-year-old though, depending on whether they know how to swim or not. Well, that's the thing. Like an average woman, like like they're pretty hard to drown, right? Because given their body fat percentage and fat distribution, like it would be hard for a sea turtle to drown a woman. It would be pretty easy. Whereas a 10-year-old boy is they'll drown sometimes just on their own. Like sometimes they just sink in the water. Whereas women, adult men and definitely adult women almost always float. Although if you're skinny enough, if you have a low enough body fat percentage, anyone would have trouble floating. But yeah, an average woman would definitely be hard to sink. All right. Yeah, so the turtle ranking is based purely on the swimming ability of an average 10-year-old versus an average woman, not really the strength of the turtle. Or what is this, a porcupine? This is going to be controversial, but I think I could defeat a porcupine. I think I could tire out a porcupine over time. Um, and if I didn't have any, Stone Age weapons, I could find a stick or a rock. The quills of a porcupine are very brittle. They're meant to be brittle, so that they can break off in the flesh of the predators that attack them. One way to disarm a porcupine is to, simply hit it with a stick until all its quills are broken. I actually saw a video of a leopard, uh, like hitting a porcupine with its paw, and the quills of the porcupine were coming off in the skin of the leopard, but it kept hitting the porcupine. And people in the comments section were saying that the leopard was, being persistent, or it was being foolish. But and then some other people pointed out that the leopard probably knows that after a certain number of hits, the spines of the or the quills of the porcupine will be gone, and it won't have any defenses left. So the leopard was sacrificing like one of its paws to get all of the quills out of this porcupine. So yeah, that it is possible to disarm a porcupine. Right, a shark. Uh, yeah, I think this would require some people with boats, nets, and harpoons in order to defeat. What is this? A sheep? I'm gonna put the sheep one tier below the goat since it doesn't have horns. I'm gonna say an average woman could defeat a sheep. I don't know about a 10-year-old. Actually, I might move the goat down and say an average woman could defeat a goat, and I think an average 10-year-old probably could defeat a sheep. Sheep are not that big. I've seen sheep, and they're pretty small, and they don't really have any way of harming a human. All right, a skunk. So skunks have a very strong deterrent against being attacked, in that they have that, they can spray you with an extremely foul smelling substance. But if you can get past that, the skunk doesn't really have any other ways to harm a human, unless it has rabies, in which case the skunk will probably die before the human. But anyway, yeah, bottom tier. Even though it has the stinky defense, uh, it's not lethal, and it doesn't really have any other ways to seriously harm a human. A snail, bottom tier. What is this? A tarantula, bottom tier. You can just step on a tarantula. What is this? A squid? If it's a giant squid, I think it would take several people to. Although they are deep sea animals, so I don't know how a person would uh, fight a giant squid in its natural habitat? Maybe with like nets? I think a single person with a net and a harpoon could take down a squid. If it's a giant squid. If it's a small squid, then anyone would be able to. Right, a squirrel, bottom tier. A stingray, bottom tier. Actually, no, wasn't Steve Irwin was killed by a stingray. I'm gonna say a human with a Stone Age weapon. Actually, no. Yeah, I'm gonna say a human with a Stone Age weapon. The thing is, there are no animals that fit into the uh, world champion MMA fighter category. So far, there are no animals that would take a world champion MMA fighter to defeat. Most of the animals just go in the professional fighter category that a decently skilled, decently strong human would be able to defeat them. I'm not sure there are any animals that only, Mike Tyson could defeat, or only, I don't know, only like Francis Ngannou could defeat or something. Uh, I might have to remove this category. Let's look at the other animals. Yeah, this this world champion MMA fighter category is kind of redundant, so I'm gonna delete it. There we go. All right, a lion. Yeah, I think it would. I think the Maasai, uh, in East Africa, have been known to hunt lions with spears. So I think a single man with a spear can defeat a lion, but no one can defeat a lion without a weapon. Which is why I removed the world champion MMA fighter category. Because any animal that would be able to defeat like a professional MMA fighter would probably also be able to defeat, Mike Tyson or elite level champion. All right, I think this is what is this, a Chihuahua? All right, bottom tier. Starfish, bottom tier. A tiger? I'm not sure. I'm gonna put it in same tier as the lion. Tigers have a reputation for being very, very powerful. Here's my reasoning. If Maasai, Maasai warriors are able to defeat a lion with just a spear, I think it would be possible for a single human to take down a tiger with a spear, but it would be very dangerous. You would have to hit it in the right place, and you would have to make sure that you hit the tiger before it can strike at you. A tortoise, bottom tier. A toucan, bottom tier. A walrus. This one is interesting. On land, I think a professional fighter might be able to tire out a walrus. The walrus are very big, so I don't know. I think it would require a weapon. I think a single person with a spear could take down a walrus on land. Uh, However, yeah, I don't think it would require a team of people. A single person with a well placed uh, stab would be able to down a walrus. Although I don't think that any human, including a professional fighter, would be able to take down a walrus with their bare hands. It's just too massive of an animal. All right, this is a hornet. If it's a single hornet, uh, yeah, I think anyone could defeat a single hornet. But if it's a swarm of hornets, I don't think anyone can defeat a swarm of hornets if the swarm is big enough. Okay, assuming it's just one hornet, I'm gonna put it in the bottom tier. All right, a humpback whale. This looks like a humpback whale. Yeah, it would take a team. It would take many people with boats and harpoons to take down a whale. Although hunter gatherers, people in the Arctic have hunted whales. They regularly hunt whales uh, with harpoons and small boats. So it's not like they're impossible to defeat. But yeah, it would take a coordinated hunting strategy. And all right, next is a wolf. This one is going to be controversial, just like the chimpanzee. I don't think I could defeat a wolf, but I think an average man could defeat a wolf. I think wolf ranks below chimpanzee, which is surprising, but actually, I might have to move wolf up to the same category as chimpanzee. Wolves are larger than dogs on average. Uh, I think they're even larger than like Labradors. But a lone wolf, a single wolf, I think a strong man would be able to defeat a wolf. I mean, on average, wolves weigh less than adult humans. They're stronger for their size, and obviously they have a stronger bite force and sharp teeth, but they aren't that. A strong man would be able to pick up and throw a wolf, right? Like I'm talking like a professional fighter or a professional grappler, right? Would be able to probably subdue a wolf and then strangle the wolf. But an average man, I think an average man wouldn't know what to do when fighting a wolf. So I'm going to put the wolf in the same category as the chimp and the. Actually, this might be a caiman. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what kind of crocodilian this is. Next, we have an earthworm, a bottom tier. And lastly, we have a zebra. So zebras are smaller than horses, much smaller, but they're highly aggressive. Uh, I I think I think that it would be. I think a professional fighter could possibly, potentially, figure out a way to defeat a zebra, but an average man definitely couldn't. I think there's no way an average man could defeat a zebra. I think actually no. I'm gonna put zebra in the same category as the horse because although it's smaller than a horse, it is significantly more aggressive than a horse. Um, I'm keeping deer, or yeah, this male deer in the same category as the wolf and the chimp. Actually, I might have to move it down. An average man might. I'm gonna move it down, and I think an average man would be able to defeat a male deer. They just have to like grab it by the antlers or something. The deer don't really have any powerful attacks. Due to their size, even their kicks are not that powerful. Whereas a zebra's kick is very powerful. Zebras have been known to incapacitate lions with their kicks, whereas I don't think a deer's kick is as powerful. And you know what? I might have to move the porcupine down because if I can defeat a porcupine by disarming its quills by simply grabbing a stick and just hitting the porcupine and wearing it out, and then defeating it once all its quills are gone, then I'm sure an average woman would be able to figure out that strategy as well. I mean, assuming an average man could, and assuming that I can, and a woman probably could too. I don't know about a 10-year-old boy. Actually, a 10-year-old boy probably could figure it out as well. Actually, well, it depends. It depends. Like, are we judging this based on physical ability or based on intelligence? Because if we're, I don't know. This is gonna leave no animals in the category where I would be able to defeat them, but an average woman wouldn't. Um, what animals would I be able to defeat that an average woman would not be able to defeat? That's a tricky question. I might have to delete myself as a category, and just have average man, average woman, and Ash Ketchum. I'm gonna move the domestic pig down to average man. I think an average man could defeat a domestic pig. All right, I'm going to move. I think I might move the domestic dog and the llama down to me. I think I could defeat a llama. I think I could defeat a domestic dog. I'm keeping the honey badger up here though. Actually, no, if I could defeat a dog, I could probably defeat a honey badger too. And I'm not so confident as to say I could defeat a medium to large size dog. Um, all right, I'm moving the dog back up. I'm keeping llama in the me tier. I think I could take down a llama. I'm not sure if the average woman could take down a llama. And I'm going to move the beaver down to Ash Ketchum level. A 10-year-old boy could take down a beaver. Now I'm pretty confident of that now. A coyote, I don't know. I know that an adult woman significantly outweighs a coyote. I strongly believe that an average woman, considering how much they outweigh a coyote, could defeat a coyote, and also a macaque, also a medium sized monkey. Whereas a 10-year-old boy, due to their size, might have trouble defeating either a monkey or a coyote. So I'm pretty confident in these. Yeah, I'm pretty confident in these in the rankings so far. All right, I think I think we have our ranking. Feel free to disagree. Feel free to comment how you would rank these animals. Uh, and if you like the video, I'll come out with more in the future.